and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established among us all. Amen.
Amen.
Manningham City Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri people as the traditional custodians of the land we now know as Manningham. We pay our respects to Wurundjeri elders past and present and value the ongoing contribution to the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council would like to acknowledge the contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome you all here to this public meeting here this evening, and thank you all for attending in the current circumstances. I'd like to advise you all that tonight's meeting is being audio and video recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy, but we do not have any visitors in the gallery here this evening. All council meetings are governed by a meeting procedure local law. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and seconder of a motion on the item before opening any debate. Only councillors are able to join any debate on any item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda, public question time, which provides people with an opportunity to ask any questions of council. Do we have any council questions registered for this evening? No? Great, thank you. Item 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. An apology has been received by Councillor Sophie Gelberly for this evening's meeting. Item 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. No notifications of conflict of interest have been received. Are there any notifications of conflict of interest from any councillors this evening? Thank you, councillors. Item 4, confirmation of minutes. I would like a mover for that particular motion, please. Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Mr Mayor, I move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council held on the 25th of February 2020 be confirmed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Chen. Are there any speakers? I will put the motion. Those for? Against? That is carried. Item 5, presentations. 5.1, passing of Peter Mulcahy. Councillors, it is with deep sadness that I must inform you of the recent passing of former Mayor and Councillor Peter James Mulcahy. Mr Mulcahy served as a councillor for the Shire of City and Doncaster and Templestowe from 1975 to 1982, including one term as Mayor in 1980-1981. I'd like to call for a mover of a motion of condolence, if I could, please. Councillor Goff. If you could read the motion, please, Councillor Goff, on page 3.
Mayor, I move that Council place on record its sadness and regret at the recent passing of Mr Peter James Mulcahy, record its appreciation for the contribution of Mr Mulcahy during his term as Mayor and Councillor for the Shire of and the City of Doncaster and Templestowe, and extend its sympathy and condolences to the Mulcahy's family at this very difficult time.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Conlon. I will put the motion. Those for? Against? That is carried. Thank you. Could councillors please just check for me that their microphones are turned on? Thank you. You might need to move them a little closer so that they work effectively. These are a little further away than normal. Item 6, petitions. There are no petitions. Item 7, public question time. There are no questions from the public this evening. Item 8, admission of urgent business. Do I have a mover for this matter?
May I move that?
Thank you, councillor Piccinini.
I move that council admits for consideration the following urgent business reports at item 14 of this meeting. Item 14.1, proposed amendment to instrument of delegation from council to chief executive officer, and item 14.2, documents for sealing.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor, I did it again, Kleiner. I will put the motion. Those for? Against? That is carried. Item 9, planning and permit applications. There are no planning permit applications. Item 10, city planning and community. Item 10.1, Yarra Valley Water Doncaster Hill Recycled Water Project. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goff.
Mr Mayor, I move as on the paper.
That the recommendation be adopted.
That the recommendation be adopted, yes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Conlon. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and this is an issue that is probably dear to everybody's heart for the sustainability of Manningham and the sustainability of Melbourne in general with water over the long term. Indeed, Council did, as it said here, pass a motion on the 28th of August saying that we would not have would not lease or sell land in Koonung for a recycled water or sewage treatment plant. That went through at that particular time, and in many ways, for us to achieve what we need to undo that particular motion to be able to actually allow Yarra Valley Water or the Melbourne Water to actually provide a treatment plant or whatever. So it's not really a sewage treatment plant, but we need to pass that particular bit through because that was a council recommendation at the time. Hotly contested, may I say, at the time, and it was done of no advice. It was done on the council floor at the time. Mr Mayor, we do have a history of working well with Melbourne Water and Yarra Valley Water, and back in 2009 we did sign a statement of a memorandum of understanding working together with those organisations to achieve good results for the Manningham community. And one of the very reasons we were doing this was because Manningham at the time had a huge area that was not sewered. And indeed, working together with these groups, we were able to get different sorts of sewerage options to our topography in areas like Don Vale and Templestowe and some of the non-urban areas where otherwise the sewerage would not have been able to have been put through. And we got programs and things that were directed here with those particular groups. And as well as that, we actually had a situation of water shortages across Melbourne, and if you cast your mind back a number of years, that had been a major issue. And indeed, when Doncaster Hill was actually designed, a third pipe was insisted on, and that is a grey water pipe or a recycled water pipe, was insisted on in all developments on Doncaster Hill. So anyone building, which would have cost thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars for every developer to put the facilities in. There's a promise in that we were going to be able to deliver that to the community, and indeed we were unable to do so until today. We're still not able to do so. Now, there have been a number of sites that have been chosen, and there have been a lot of changes, but this is facilitating further action into the future of maybe an underground version may get through to be able to provide water to the areas that we've decided that this recycled water can go to, and that is around Doncaster Hill and then down into the new development of the old golf course area, and anyone that's in the pathway of those pipes are going to have ability to opt into getting a third pipe into their property. But indeed, there's a lot obligation in with the Doncaster Hill area itself, with what's required. So, Mr Mayor, I commend this motion to us. This is part of the way to get on with, I suppose, fulfilling the obligations of our community and being able to provide the much needed water. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Goff. Just to clarify, it was the 28th of August and it was 2012, just so we're clear how long...
Did I say 2009, did I?
No, you didn't say any year, so
right,
I'm just clarifying that, that it was a while ago. And that's important because the proposal back then was for an above-ground facility. It was for which created an issue of loss of open space, and also the developments hadn't started yet. So through the course of time, we've got a much better proposal now. So I won't comment on whether that was the right decision then at the time, but we now have an underground facility proposed, which will minimise the loss of open space, which is a critical thing for this whole area. So I support this wholeheartedly, and the benefits to all of us in terms of sustainability is substantial. And I'd actually congratulate Yarra Valley Water for sticking at it and for coming up with a much better proposal, and commend this to the councillors.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have any speakers against the motion?
I have a question.
Yes, Councillor. Councillor Haynes.
I have a question. I believe that this motion isn't about approving something. This motion is just about progressing some further consultation with council, and this isn't approving the draft proposal that has gone forward. This is just saying that there's going to be consultation based on the great report that I've read. So I'm just wanting clarification, because what Councillor Conlon said might make people think we're approving something.
Great, thank you. I'll direct that question to the CEO.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. You're quite right. What you are doing is modifying a previous resolution and allowing us to engage with Yarra Valley Water. There is still a planning process that they have to comply with, so we'll come back to Council. We are anticipating that will be in 2021, so it has to go through all of those processes, but you're actually allowing that consultation and that design process to commence in more detail, and allowing officers to engage with Yarra Valley Water to assist them in coming up with a viable project.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Councillor Chen.
Speaking against. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I speak against the motion. My reason just as follows. The year 2012 motion was passed on a variety of grounds, including the location is too close to the residents' homes and the adverse impacts to amenity. Councillors, let's not forget that the originally proposed location was at Aaron Park in Box Hill North. And the change of location from Aaron Park to Trent Road Reserve is the result of North East Link project. Not long ago, on 11th of February this year, Council resolved to seek a judicial review into the inquiry and advisory committee hearing process and the Minister's assessment of the North East Link environment effects statement. We want to know if the North East Link project, the reports and decisions were lawful. Now this matter is before the Supreme Court. At the end of the judicial review, there will be several conclusions. The judge may find the decision is lawfully made. The judge may quash the original decision, or just direct the original decision maker to consider the decision afresh. Not only North East Link project is facing a judicial review now, the scale of the COVID-19 is causing economic slowdown. The evolution of the disease and its economic impacts are highly, highly uncertain. It is fair to say that there is no certainty of the Northeast Link design and the project itself. But most importantly, it is about a value we hold dear. Australian society values commitment of the rule of law, respect for our judicial system, and the rules of procedural fairness. The year 2012 resolution may eventually be revoked. But tonight is not the right time to revoke a council resolution before the outcome of Supreme Court litigation. I ask councillors to adhere to the procedural fairness rules and wait until the outcome of Supreme Court litigation. Councillors, I just want to remind you, because of the significant implication of the revocation, because of the uncertainty of the outcome of the judicial review, because of the uncertainty of the coronavirus outbreak to our economy, we should wait until there is some certainty of these uncertainties. For this reason, I'm sorry, I'm unable to support the officer's recommendation, and I ask you to exercise caution when casting your vote.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. CEO, could you just clarify for me based on some statements made in that about the Supreme Court proceedings and whether that the decision by the Supreme Court would in fact halt the project or whether it would have an altogether different outcome?
So the Supreme Court proceedings that we have at the moment in relation to the North East Link is in relation to effectively the decision-making process, not the merits, if you like, of the North East Link project itself. So the intent is not to, at this juncture, stop the project. It is to effectively give us greater opportunity to comment on the final design or the close to final design of the project so we can understand the implications at a localised level.
So therefore, success in our Supreme Court action on our part and our fellow councils would not stop the project. It would simply cause part of the process to be revisited.
Correct, and potentially cause some delays, but yes, you're quite right.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Yes, Mayor, I rise to speak in favour of the motion. We're being asked as a council to effectively rescind a motion that was made some 8 years ago.
Inspired.
Yes, made 8 years ago, prohibiting Yarra Valley Water, which in effect prohibits Yarra Valley Water from working together with council to progress this matter. That's in essence what that motion, what the motion we're being asked to vote for is today. In my view, it does not in any way impact on the judicial review. It does not in any way interfere with the rule of law or the court proceedings in the Supreme Court in relation to the North East Link panel hearing. We are not interfering with the judicial review or the rule of law by agreeing, if we were to pass this motion, that Yarra Valley Water can work with the council on this project. It's simply not the case. So it in my view, we should vote in favour of this motion because our community has been waiting for a long time for a recycled watering plant for this area. We've had people who've had the third pipe in their apartments and in their developments for years, waiting for this recycled water to come. It's an excellent development because it's underground. There are just small ventilation shafts, so our community will be able to use that area. And furthermore, there's a further the recycled water will now be able to. It's proposed, and it may happen that the recycled water can be used for our community assets, our parks, our ovals, which wasn't the case back in 2012, and also properties that are near the pipeline that are not necessarily on Doncaster Hill will be able to link into this wonderful resource of recycled water. So I urge Council to vote in favour of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Are there any other speakers against the motion? Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Mr. Mayor, I want to make sure what we are voting for. This motion, the way I understand it and the way it was explained, it's not about approving anything because there's nothing that this council has seen to approve. Therefore, I reserve my right when something is submitted and considered to then decide whether the application ought to be approved. I reserve my right to reject it if it does not satisfy the requirements of this council and the requirements of the community. And therefore, I feel comfortable in simply voting for this motion, given that I reserve the right to say no when the time comes up.
That was a great speech again.
Thank you, councillor.
Okay, I'd like
Do I
to...
have any other speakers for or against the motion?
Thank you.
Councillor Haynes.
Thank you. Well, as everybody knows, that I've always been against this plant until we got to the point where the working with Applewood residents and the fact that this was part of the reason that motion went forward in 2012 was the Applewood residents and what was happening. So there has been a lot of work with the Yarra Valley Water and the Applewood residents, and the Applewood residents have been in discussion and also fighting this now with this progression going forward with the way Yarra Valley Water has been working with them and also many other residents. I'm still not a big fan of thinking about recycled water, but I have been working with Yarra Valley Water to try and get my head around it even greater, and I'm at this point still not convinced and have reserved my rights, which is why I also believe that I look forward to the progression of what they are putting forward. It's good that that did happen in 2012 and that we will possibly get a much greater outcome for many residents within Manningham, not just those on the hill, but even those further down towards the greater areas and even Tullamore. As far as the judicial review goes, I have looked into this myself, and I could be wrong, I'm not a lawyer, but I do believe that this has no effect on what we're doing, and this isn't a judicial review to do with this motion or anything to do with Yarra Valley Water. I do like this report. I am speaking for this report because reading this report, it talks about revoking the motion in 2012, and it'll provide the opportunity for Yarra Valley Water to work with Council to more adequately plan and consider the impacts, the opportunities and the proposed facilities and possible places. Revoking this previous motion does not, however, imply that Council supports the proposal at this time, that the key issues and community concerns will be necessarily planning and...
Order. Councillor, that is time. Thank you.
Oh, can I have an extension just to read this little part out?
Yes, yes.
That's all, it's
Request for
just-
an extension so moved by councillor Zafiropoulos, seconded by councillor Goff. I'll put the motion. Those for, against, that is carried.
So just to finish, this is the council report that we're putting forward today. Subject to all the necessary planning and statutory approvals associated with such a facility in public land. It will provide the opportunity, however, for Yarra Valley Water to engage with council as key stakeholders and the landowners to consider a proposal that addresses the needs for more sustainable water management and practices in urban metropolitan Melbourne. And that also includes working with our urban designers to get a great outcome as well, to do with no matter where it might be. And I'm happy to pass this motion because I'm very clear with talking with council and Yarra Valley Water that the concept plans that they put forward are not what's going to come to us if we do put this motion up today and then work closer with Yarra Valley Water than them acting on behalf of state government and saying, well, if council won't engage, we're just going to do what we want anyway. So I'm really looking forward to our council working with Yarra Valley Water.
Thank you, councillor. Any other speakers against the motion or for the motion? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and just to be quick, that last statement is absolutely correct, Councillor Haynes. A state government authority can come in and do whatever they want, and what we are wanting is if we do have anything, we want to have a bit of a say into how it looks and where it is and all the rest. However, Mr Mayor, I'm amazed that somebody could actually talk about a judicial review as a reason not to go ahead with this, which has absolutely nothing to do with this whole concept. It's not within really the purview of what's going to go on there. It's over a process, not over an action of building a road, and even the road has nothing to do with it. And the coronavirus. Absolutely amazing that these two things can be used as reasons for council not making decisions, putting off decisions and doing nothing. And Madam Mayor, Mr Mayor, council has done nothing for far too many years on this particular topic. It has done absolutely nothing. The motion that is there means that we can't talk to Yarra Valley or go into negotiations with Yarra Valley Water on something that we're committed to provide a third pipe on Doncaster Hill. We have a commitment to all of those buildings in that whole area to provide recycled water. And we can't provide the place for that at the top of a hill. Pure science says it has to be at the bottom of the hill to get the catchment as it runs off. It is not a sewage treatment plant. It doesn't have the sewer out there and clean it and purify it. It extracts water from what is running in those drains, which is the majority of water and such, and that is in there, and it's extracting the water from it and using that, treating that and using it in a third pipe. It is not a sewage treatment plant for full stop. And Madam Mayor, Mr Mayor, I'm sorry, but I'm just really amazed that people can come up with obtuse reasons for not putting something through rather than thinking through a motion that was ill-conceived. It's like us saying we will never rezone an area of Manningham in the future. That's
Order.
the
That is
concept of
time,
motion.
councillor. Thank you. Councillors, I will put the motion. Those for? Those against? That is carried.
Division.
Division has been called. Councillors, if those for the motion could please rise to indicate their support. Councillor Goff, Councillor Haynes, Councillor Zafiropoulos, Councillor Kynett, Councillor Conlon, Councillor Piccinini, Councillor McKeish. Those against? Councillor Chen. That is carried. Thank you, councillors. On to the next item, item 11, City Services. There are no City Services reports. Item 12, Shared Services. There are no Shared Services reports. Item 13, Chief Executive Officer. 13.1, ALGA and MAV motions 2020. Do I have a mover? Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Mr Mayor, I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kynett. Councillor Zafiropoulos.
There isn't really much to be said about this. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, we are facing a crisis with waste management, which will have severe implications of both resources and costs. required by this council and every other council. Some of that impact is caused because of overseas decisions. But I think both the federal government and the state government, whilst they're moving in the right direction, as usually they not provide adequate resources for council to do the right thing. So these motions basically are part of the advocacy mechanism to convince both levels of government to provide adequate funding for us to do what they're saying needs to be done.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you, councillor. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? I'll therefore put the motion. Those for the motion? Thank you. Those against? That is carried. Item 13.2, appointment of authorised officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that council note the record of assemblies in the officers.
Sorry, councillor, we're on item 13.2.
Sorry.
Sorry. I will try
Thank
that
you.
again. Do I have a mover for item 13.2, appointment of authorised officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987?
I'm happy to do that.
Councillor Conlon, thank you.
I ask that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, councillor. I appreciate your enthusiasm for progressing the meeting efficiently. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Piccinini. Councillor Conlon.
No.
Are there any speakers against? I will put the motion. Those for? Those against? That is carried. 13.3, record of assembly of councillors. Do I have a mover?
So sorry, what was that, the docket, no?
Item 13.3, record of assembly of councillors. Do I have a mover?
I'm happy to move that.
Is that this one? No, okay.
Thank you, councillor Conlon.
Thank you. This time I'd like to recommend that council note the records of assemblies in the officers' recommendation, for one, and number two, amend the Open Space and Streetscape Advisory Committee Assembly of Councillors to show Councillor Dot Haynes as being present, and number three, incorporate the records of assemblies into the minutes of this meeting.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Haynes. Councillor Conlon?
Nothing.
Nothing to add.
Thank you.
Councillor Haynes?
But
Nothing?
nothing to add.
Right. Any speakers against? I will put the motion. Those for? Against? That is carried. Just make sure that I've covered everything. Yes, I have. Item 14, urgent business. Item 14.1, proposed amendment to the instrument of delegation from Council to the Chief Executive Officer. Do I have a mover? Councillor Piccinini.
I move that the recommendation be adopted with the following amendment. And this amendment reads in paragraph F, to amend paragraph A of the schedule to the instrument of the delegation by inserting a comma after the words council with a capital C and thing.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kleinert. Councillor Piccinini.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The motion before us is proposing that we as a council delegate powers to the CEO, our CEO, in the event that a state of emergency is declared, and he forms the view that if council was to meet, we wouldn't have a quorum. So this is in light of the coronavirus and the possibility of our Premier declaring a state of emergency, it's more than appropriate that as councillors we vote in favour of this motion, as happened last night in Ballarat by the local council there and is happening throughout the state. The proposed amendment, that is to add the 2 commas is simply so that the schedule reads better and we have a better understanding of the proposed delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Would the seconder like to speak? No. Are there any speakers against? Any other speakers for? I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? That is carried. Item 14.2, documents for sealing. Do I have a mover? Councillor Haynes.
I have to read it out, I believe. So I move that the recommendation that the following document be signed and sealed: consent to build over an easement agreement and under section 173 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, Council and Chowdhury Property Development Proprietary Limited, 69 Blackburn Road, Doncaster East.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder for this particular matter?
That, Mr Mayor, clarification, that includes the other documents to be signed as well, not just that one?
There are no other documents.
Yeah, there are no others, yeah.
I'll second.
Thank you, councillor Kleinert. Councillor Haynes. Anything to
And
add?
nothing further to add,
Thank
except
you.
probably just the numbers were a little bit odd, which is why I asked for clarification.
Great, thank you. Councillor Kleinert, no. Any speakers against? I'll put the motion. Those for? Those against? That is carried. Councillor, item 15, councillor question time. Questions from any councillors? Councillor Zafiropoulos.
Mr Mayor, we had the privilege to hear from our CEO informally about the measures we're taking to reduce the impact that the virus is having, particularly in our community. But I think it's important that we bring this into the formal part of the meeting, very briefly outlining to our residents that this council is going out of its way to ensure that our services are as good as the circumstances dictate.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor, if I might, just first, Mr CEO, certainly there has been a significant impact on our community, councillor. We have progressively closed many of our community facilities, shut down many functions, and many day-to-day activities in our facilities have been suspended for the moment. And all of that has occurred in line with the advice we've received from the Chief Health Officer to preserve social distancing and to reduce the infection risk within our community. From an organisational perspective, operationally, from a staffing perspective, we're very well positioned as a council. We've made significant investments in technology over the term of this council, which has been done through the support of our council. We have all supported these initiatives, and that has positioned our organisation very well in this particular crisis. It's enabled many of our staff to now transition to working from home, and they have been able to preserve many of our services. The services themselves are modified in many ways, but we have been able to preserve most of our services and try and minimise the service impact on behalf of our community. There has been a major impact on our community sport across the city. That's been the most dramatic evidence in our city at this point. It's a disappointing but necessary impact on our community to see all of these sporting events and activities suspended at this time, and that's been a decision that's been taken by all of the sporting associations across Victoria, and that has resulted in these sports shutting down for the most part. The advice we've been given by the Chief Health Officer has been that we need to try and make sure that we maintain social distancing as a key defence against infection. That separation of 1.5 metres is quite critical. We've all been hearing from our community, we've been out in the community in recent days, and we all know that one of the challenges that is being faced by the many storefronts and shop owners and the people running those businesses is that people are struggling to maintain that 1.5 metre distance. If you look around the chamber tonight, we're separated by that distance, and we need to encourage our community to actually do that to try and help maintain the health in our community. The other key point we've been encouraged is on good hygiene, making sure that we're avoiding touching when greeting, washing our hands very regularly, to try and ensure that we don't inadvertently collect the virus and infect ourselves as we are using the infrastructure out in the wider community. I'd also like to say thank you to the many community organisations on behalf of our council who have stepped up in so many ways despite the shortages that have been appearing across the country in recent weeks. The shortages have presented many challenges, but we've all seen some great examples of people voluntarily in our community helping others, whether that's shopping, whether it's just giving people a hand, checking in on people. These are important actions that we want to encourage everyone in our community to do. Look in on your neighbours, check in on your neighbours, make sure that the local community is getting the support that they need in any way that you safely can. There are many vulnerable and isolated people in our community who need our support, and I would encourage those who can safely do so to do so. Finally, I think on behalf of our council and our community, I would really like to send a huge thank you to those who are working in the medical sector. There are doctors, there are nurses, there are cleaners, there are technicians, there are a whole diverse range of people working in many organisations in our community in the health sector. We're so dependent upon them, and our community is very grateful for the extraordinary work that they are doing on behalf of the entire Australian community. So I'd like to express our gratitude to them on behalf of you, my fellow councillors, and our community. Finally, I'd be happy to give our CEO an opportunity to say anything he'd like to say at this point.
Thank you, Mayor. And you've summed it up very, very well, obviously, in terms of the impacts and essentially what we're trying to do as a council on behalf of the community. But I can guarantee you, Councillor, that the organisation is doing its level best to stabilise as quickly as possible in a changing environment like everyone in our community, to be able to provide the sort of services that we pride ourselves on, and we know the community are expecting of us. So I certainly want to thank the staff who've been incredible in terms of adapting, and certainly the community that have worked with us and are providing us feedback on a daily basis as to what the needs are out there in the community. We are very much relying on that information in a changing environment where communication is challenging for all of us in our day-to-day lives and also in whatever we do professionally. As I mentioned, things are changing on a daily basis, and in terms of information, I really encourage people to do as we are doing, which is to follow the advice that is provided by the Commonwealth Government, the advice that is provided by the Department of Health and Human Services, and I note that the National Cabinet is meeting again tonight, and so very much encourage people to look at those websites as the source of truth. We are in constant contact, particularly at a state level, with the state government and following any state-related plans, so there's consistency of information across our community and adjusting our services accordingly. I would say, as I said, things are changing regularly on a day-to-day basis depending on all of those restrictions that are coming through and clarifications that are coming through on restrictions in terms of council services, what is open, what is not, what has been modified. We are doing our best to contact stakeholders directly where we are providing services directly to them, but certainly encourage community members to look at our website to understand what services are occurring, and they are changing on a day-to-day basis, and we are endeavouring to update the website, the council website, as that occurs. Certainly I would encourage people to utilise other contact points with council at this stage in terms of obviously emailing us. We've got social media, and the call centre are operating and will continue to operate.
Thank you, Mr CEO. And finally, councillors, I'd like to thank each of you for all the work that you're doing in the community and to work as a team in supporting the operations of both the organisation and our wider community. It's great to work with a team of councillors who are so committed to their community and working so hard for their community. So, are there any other questions, councillors? Councillor Chen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to ask a question about small businesses. Of course, they are very hard hit during this unfortunate period of time. And because of the self-isolation and the social distancing, and currently some of the business have to be shut down. And I just wondering what level of support on a local government level can we provide? And just by way of clarification, I understand that our officer, they actually went out to visit some of the local business last week and make appointment, make himself or themselves available to understand their problems. And I would like to hear from our CEO and other officers that what message can we give it to our small business? Thank you.
Mr CEO.
Thank you, councillor. Thank you for the question. And I'm certainly have an intimate understanding of the impact on small business in our community. We have an area of council that are specifically focused in on connections with local business, and that is active as we speak, collecting information, listening, and getting a great understanding of the impact. As we know, a small business is the primary source, if you like, of business and industry in our community. So it's very, very important to this council, and we are very focused on that. Behind the scenes, we are gathering information and collecting and connecting with the state government in terms of the sorts of initiatives that are coming through there, obviously getting an understanding of the initiatives that are coming through at a federal government perspective and trying to feed that information through as quickly. And as councillors are aware, we are also considering what opportunities council have through our particular processes, and also opportunities to support small business as it becomes clearer what those impacts are and how long those impacts will be.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Do we have any other questions, councillors? Councillor Haynes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just one to do with, well, maybe two, but to do with supporting our aged people and the services with the Meals on Wheels. I know that you're working with that, so, and all that information is on the website, and you've put a specific team together. So I just want to thank you for that. But more importantly, to do with other areas with retirement villages and the aged care facilities that were getting library services, and there is now a modified version. At this point, obviously the National Assembly's meeting tonight, and they may shut down any transferring of books or anything, but at this point our modified services, are they on the website that some of these services are still being provided from the library services?
Thank you for the question, councillor. Yes, I can confirm that the library is continuing to provide some of the services, the outreach services that I've previously provided to community, and obviously now looking at enhancing and utilising the resources that they've got to upgrade and increase their focus on outreach type services. My understanding, and we'll seek some clarification, is that that is up on the Whitehorse Manningham Library website, and no doubt like council services, library services, will continue to evolve and adapt, and I recommend that people continue to look at that website in terms of the available services. And as new services or additional services come on board, they'll be updated on that website.
Thank you. And just a follow-up from that, because I've been getting a few texts and things because people are quite confused because they've been told that it's closed. But thank you for that. And also, are we able to put a link on our website to make certain that so people don't have to hunt for it?
We'll take that on notice, councillor.
Thank you.
Any other
And
questions, Kat?
One further question, totally separate to that, if that's okay?
Please.
Because it was two questions. Well, I don't know about us as... citizenships, last night I had a number of people calling and asking me questions. I'm just wondering, are we going to do any one-on-one, put those people through citizenship and also the many others that are waiting?
Thank you for the question, councillor. And obviously it was disappointing to have to be in a position where we couldn't go forward last night with the ceremony. We've been in touch with the Commonwealth Department in relation to citizenship ceremonies. My understanding is at this stage their intent is not to deem those citizenship ceremonies as essential services at this point in time, but we are working with them on opportunities to be able to convey citizenship ceremony in a different sort of way. Obviously, it's an issue right across Australia, so they are working on the ways in which that might proceed into the future, but we don't have any clear direction on that at the moment. As soon as we do, we'll obviously let the individuals know through the department and also councillors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you. Item 16, confidential reports. Do I have a mover for item 16?
I'll move that.
Councillor Piccinini.
I move that council close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 89(2)(h) of the Local Government Act 1987 to consider item 16.1, 2 to 4 Websters Road, Templestowe feasibility study findings, and item 16.2, proposed new park on Hepburn Road in Doncaster Hill, both concerning matters which the council considers would prejudice the council or any person.
Thank you, councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goff. I will put the motion. Those for? Those against? That is carried. Just bear with us a couple of minutes, councillors, while we disconnect.